it go. Let 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 it go. Lord, help me let it go. Help me let it go. Yeah, let it go. Yeah, let it go. Help me let it go. Master Jesus, let it go. Yeah, help me let it go. Go, 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 go. Oh, let it go. I'm tired, let it go. Give it all to Jesus. Let it take control. Just sit and worship. I know it hurts you, and I know it's painful. No way to wait, so you have to let it go. Your best friend is not your secret enemies. Let it go. Your wife is getting married to another man. Your husband are falling in love with another woman. Don't let it bother you. I say let it go. If someone overlook you because you live in zero, if they insult you because you don't have nobody, if they say you will continue to be a zogo, if they say you will continue to be a prostitute,
about talking to one on one, and I'm sure the president is able to communicate and
you will not marry, you will not bear your own children. If they say your need is over, some people to meet it, money can say no, Johnny, ginger. Just let it go. Jesus will change your story. Let it go. 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 Lord, help me let it go. Help me let it go, man.
Yeah. Malik blow. Hello. Nobody do it like you do it. You a true God. Yes. You always hear me when I say my prayer with few words. But Jenna said, and they plenty in this new world. Be the power every day, and while I'm still a good boy. Jehovah bigger than your problem, so just let it go. Just keep on praying, he will make your blessing overflow. To be the best and more the rest, you gotta pray more. The God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the God of mighty blow. But there is power in your blood, and while I'm giving praises, yes. I gotta this and David did. They think I'm getting crazy. But love is how you make it, brother. May not be. Yesterday, every time I sin, I on my knees, begging God for mercy. Thank me for your love, blessing, and forgiveness. You solved my problem, Lord. You took me from the wilderness. Now only you can feel my struggle when I'm very stressed. So my papa bless me, then my enemy they get the best. No matter what the problem is, man, just let it go. The delay is not your denial. Everybody know. Just keep on trusting in Jehovah. He will give you more. He took me from the grass. He can take you from the rocky road. Yeah.
Good evening, folks. Welcome. I'm Alphonso Zean Soe of the Liberia Public Radio 10 Lpr-Tv. We want to welcome you to this evening to broadcast all things considered airing right here on the Diaspora Informative News outlet, Liberia Public Radio. I want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Wherever you are, just share this for us. Invite someone at your company. And this is the voice of Princess Jemima Wakalai hovering on the Liberia Public Radio here this evening. Welcome to the show.
Spread of denial, spread of depression. Let it go, man. Oh, I'm tired. I can go and go. If you're picking, take your chemo. Let it go. Your best friend, take your horse, man. Let it go. If If your wife say we are not compatible, let him go. Your husband say you're not my type, just let it go.
How many of us can let go here this evening? So says the songwriter. What a welcome, all of you here this evening. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us. As usual, we are here to bring you news, information, and entertainment. The President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Dr. George Manning WEAH, who appears on the biggest podium tomorrow at the United Nations, where he's going to be speaking. All eyes. Would that be the change game? Lots of information and many more. We're going to be our talking point here this evening. So I want to welcome all of you. And thank you for being here this evening.
You don't want to pay. You are become a boo-boo man.
And by the way, the president will be speaking at the United Nations tomorrow. Let's see what happens. Would that be the change game?
Don't even want to see you.
In the meantime, the voice of Minister Walker hovering to right here on the Diaspora Informative News Outlet. Good evening. Welcome.
They call you useless. But one day, Jesus will make you useful.
One day they're going to make you useful. You will always be identified. They will always define you. And this is what I always told my followers. Do not allow people to define you. Define yourself.
How long were you home? You can hold on.
Good evening, good evening. So we want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for sharing this midweek Wednesday with us. I am Alphonso Zean Soe of the Liberia Public Radio New England Bureau Desk. Thank you for being here this evening. We are always grateful to you of your time that you share with us. We learned a lot from you. Without you, I can come here and talk by myself, and this is what every minute, second, but our viewers, our followers, I mean, genuine ones, not people in Pakistan and other parts of the world, genuine ones, committed Liberians, giving them the ability to share and be able to talk about their country. That is so amazing. We are so grateful of your commitment, your time, your energy. There are some in Liberia and other parts, using their own data as well. But here to come on to have this sort of conversation. So it is good that we have this conversation because it's about our country, and we must have this conversation here as well. Team members, analysts, commentators, they are all assembling to right here. We're going to be taking you inside Liberia, the only beautiful country on planet Earth. That's my view. That's my opinion. Do not crucify me for that. Yes, everything is not milky, everything is not honey, but it's my country. So I have my own voice. Likewise, you have your own voice. We're going to be going to our guy here. Our man is here, but let me just bring in then quickly here to our man, Jonathan Tayo Dulake is LPR senior analyst right here. It's always putting it into context. My understanding, the Liberal played the fifth this evening here, so we're going to have a beautiful night, uninterrupted, beside talking point will not appear. Hopefully, Sis is going to be joining us. He's a professor, teacher, so he's going to take care of the young generation. But we are always here. The contingency plan is always in place. Sis can make it, Jonathan will be here. Jonathan can make it, Mike is here. The Liberal, yeah, he's not too friendly with me, so. If he comes here, then I'll get a big relief. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Alfonso. I'm not seeing.
You gotta be audible, Mike. You gotta be audible. We're not hearing you.
Yes, good evening. Are you people getting me now? My screen is
we're hearing you.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're hearing you. Much better. No, that's okay.
Nobody clear.
Yeah, okay. That's what I want.
I'm not seeing myself on the screen. That's why I don't know why it's happening from my end.
You in Liberia.
But you are seeing clearly, yeah. That's a good thing.
You're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
That
this man
that's
is
that's
in there.
that's
So,
good.
okay, so good evening, welcome. Hey, Jonathan, good evening, welcome, buddy.
Yeah, good evening, so and
Oh,
good
I
evening
have to
to
go out. I have to.
Okay, Mike, if you're ready, then you let me know because you're doing a lot of things back there. Okay, go ahead, Jonathan. Good
yeah,
evening,
good
welcome.
evening. So thanks again for the opportunity here. I mean, to talk about our country, one and only love country.
Right, only love country. I love that. It is our country, no matter what it is. You know, they get a saying that saying there's no bad bush for a child. And so, Liberia is our country. We can't critique, but we shouldn't do it to the extent that as if it is not our own country. I am not even saying that we shouldn't talk about the bad things, but we must also be patriotic because most of the people say that talk about the thing when you put in there too, they end up being the worst one. So for now, I just don't trust anybody. Okay, well, like tomorrow, the clock is eating away. It's morning hour now in Liberia. My eyes, I'm going to be awake. I'm going to be monitoring. I'm going to be on the clock tomorrow, but I'm going to be monitoring the eagle to see, to hear what the president, my president, our president of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency George Manent WEAH, he going to be appearing at the United Nations. Let's see. Let's see here. Let's give him the courtesy here. That's President WEAH. Yeah, you see the president of the Republic of Liberia with a seal there. He's gonna be appearing on the biggest podium. I would call that. That's the world biggest podium. So he's gonna be speaking. By the way, fair to say that's not his first time. I know he's been going there. So he's gonna be speaking here. So let's see here quickly here. Let's see some of the news. Let me bring in from the far right, Atlanta, Georgia's LPR senior analyst, Amos George, is also here. We get a what? Some kind of light behind you there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. It should be.
Much better. I told you coming with the purpose of this guy yourself. I don't think that's what you want to do.
I can describe myself.
I know you're not even one of those. Let me do this here quickly here. Some of the news spinning here. The Ukraine president demands just punishment for Russia's crime. He spoke yesterday addressing the United Nations via video link. Anger mounts in Madagascar following to deadly police shootings of mob. Everywhere the trouble, the world is in trouble. Uganda declared Ebola outburst. That's not a good one. After finding a whale strain from Sudan. Equatorial Guinea abolishes death penalty. Ooh, what a trouble what we in. Well, these are some of the news making error. Amos George, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. So, Mike, how you doing? And
Well, I'm great.
how you doing?
Just bear with me. Since the internet is understanding our language is being stable here, let's go inside Morovia where our man Mike Don is standing by. Let's get a gist. Let's get some of the G's. Okay, Mike, good evening. We want to welcome you. So let's hear from you here. What is the talking point in the streets of the Republic of Liberia, Morovia, the nation's heartbeat? His Excellency Dr. George WEAH is currently here at in the U.S. and he will be speaking tomorrow. We are hearing a lot of conversation here. What is the talking point in the streets of Liberia you are hearing?
Well, good morning, Mr. So. Let me say thank you once again for having a regular edition of All Things Considered. It's quite a morning time here now at 12 minutes past 12 a.m. here in Monrovia. So I'm quite good to be here. Like you said in your intro, several other talking points are here, but one key thing that everyone is talking about is the speech that will be delivered either tomorrow by the president of Liberia, His Excellency Dr. George Weah. Um, Even before talking about the speech, there have been one key things that people have been talking about is the quote unquote treatment that was the rogue state treatment that one blogger said was meted against the Liberian delegation. Remember yesterday, one Arab news agency reported, took the photograph of our first lady Madame Claire Marie WEAH, when she was playing a game on her phone, Candy Crush game on her phone. So this have been a talking point here too. People have been talking about it, and in fact, when the photo first emerged here, people were saying that it was the doing of the opposition. Little did we get to know that the photograph was actually taken by the Al Haddad news agency from way from Middle East. It was not the making of the opposition here. So that is a talking point, and the setting of the delegation to have been another problem. People have been saying it was not the proper way the delegates
So quickly
sat.
here, I think the internet will do us a favor here today. So why it captured the imaginations of the folks that much? What was the basis? What was the essence of that? You think?
Well, it started first with the mixing of protocol at the airport in New York there, when because recently the Liberian ambassador to the U.S. was recalled. Ambassador George Patton was recalled by the president. So as such, according to what we gathered first, there were no protocol arrangement properly done at the airport in New York. So as such, the president had to wait almost 30 minutes into a lobby before he was picked up by a driver. But again, when debunking that today, I mean, on yesterday, the minister, I mean, the head of the maritime agency has said, using language, has said that no, the president was well taken care of. In fact, Secret Service agent came to the airport, and then they took the president as a VIP. So that there where the whole issue started from, and later on it went to the arrangement where we also gathered that. The Foreign Minister, Major Kimia, was also not on time in a hall at the UNGA at the opening. So people have been there have been some critical look at the president, at the delegation from Liberia, starting from the arrival at the airport, proper protocol, not in place. Oh.
All right. Rama, you gotta fix your thing then correct before you come here. Okay, so yeah, hopefully when you fix up, we're gonna come. All right, let's start the conversation here. He's gonna join us here. But I want to look at the president tomorrow speech. I'm trying to maybe focus on the substance part of it. What are the narrative going to be changed? What new going to develop tomorrow? That's what I'm looking at. But in the meantime, let's do a little bit backtracking. We like to to kind of like digress and then to bring into present some of the past and see what it looks like. So let's see here. Let's see here. This is how it looks like the last time around. We all knew because of COVID, the president, like in the case of Iranian President Akuna come in person, he has to address the conference by video link. That was similar to the president of the Republic of Liberia during the last United Nations G General 50. That was a 55th section here. Let's listen a little bit.
To multilateralism. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, the pre-recorded statement of the President of the Republic of Liberia. Thank you.
His Excellency Volkan Bozkır, President of the 75th United Nations General Assembly, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Ambassadors, Heads of Delegations, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to have the opportunity to address this 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly on behalf of the government and people of Liberia. Before I begin my address, I would like to pay homage to all the frontline fighters who have paid the ultimate sacrifice to save the lives of others during this COVID-19 period. I also say a special thank you to all the public health institutions and organizations throughout the world that are working tirelessly to bring an end to this dangerous virus that has taken the lives of so many millions in such a short time. I now extend my deepest sympathy and condolences to the bereaved families of all those who lost their lives to this deadly disease. May their soul rest in perfect peace. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate His Excellency Mr. Volkan Bozkır on his election as President of the 75th Sessions of the United Nations General Assembly, and assure him of Liberia's full support in this discharge of his commendable duty.
Okay, that was His Excellency in the 53rd section when he was addressing the biggest podiums in my own definition, which of course is
that was the 75th the 75th
75th
session.
section. Okay, yeah. So let's look at the substance here. Besides all of these little distraction that are going to be going on here and there, which of course it will always be some places, some of them sleeping and all of that will happen. That shouldn't give room for that. That's a serious business section there. But what I'm worrying at, there are a lot unfolding in the country. Too much of political drama is happening. A lot of things happening here. What actually, what are the hopes and aspirations of the Liberian people? Okay, well, the president is coming to the United Nations. Other person they're not going to come. They're going to be a sanction. All of that. I don't listen to those bull crap because these people they all speculate. They try to please their bases, of course, obvious. But what are Liberians? What are they thinking would be maybe the biggest takeaway from this president visit? I'm looking at other things involved here. What are they? What are they? What are you hearing? What are people saying they are really looking out for?
Well, I think to get the ball rolling, Alfonso, I think Liberians are actually yearning to hear some breaking news about new development in Liberia, especially with when people were firstly saying that the president, I mean, the foreign minister won't be traveling to America, human rights issue, and so forth. But they are eagerly listening so that, I mean, wanting to get a new development information that will lead to progress to where Liberians are, I mean, more than where the start of the country it is right now. Um, you know, on many occasions whenever a leader goes to the UNGA, there will be new things that will come up, new connection that will be made. Even though critics of this government have continuously doubted the ability that there are not much connection been made since the president been going to the UNGA. Again, expectations are very high that with the president going for the 77th uh, UNGA summit, it means that Liberians we're going to get some new things going to come in terms of development, maybe bilateral. Again, there are not much we've been hearing about on the sideline of the UNGA because sometimes there are sideline meetings that have been planned, but aside from hearing getting information that the president were to meet some like some citizens from the Liberian community, including in Rwanda and other places. We have not heard any silent meeting pertaining to bilateral meeting that will bring new development or new information to Liberia. Again, they are eagerly waiting to hear from the president what he's going to say, and based upon what he's going to say and some of those new developments. Because country like Liberia, when they go to the UNGA, they go for something, they go for specific things, what they need, they make the case to the international world so that aid and all of development oriented things can happen to the country. Uh,
Okay.
so they are actually eager to get some new things done.
All right. Equally myself, we want to welcome all our viewers. Let me bring in our contributor. I'm looking at other things much. These conferences, these major war conferences, there is a specific agenda set. There's a
Yeah.
team. They tell you how long. It's not like our way of doing things. You go with an endless speech. Sometimes you feel that you bring more people in to add up. You add up to your speeches. That's not it.
Yeah.
3 minutes is a lot. 3 minutes. When it is 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and you speak within the confine of the purpose of that gathering. However, what I'm waiting for, watching out to see, because there are other world leaders and counterparts and people of different society, different groups going to be here. I'm waiting to see, been monitoring the executive mansion's official website as to what after the president speech tomorrow. We are here. We're going to be returning home beginning during the weekend, if that happens to be the case. But I'm waiting to see whether the president going to be having a bilateral conversation with other world leaders. So I'm going to pull out the garment of a good citizen this evening to make a prediction that we want something good. I'm not going to compare you, Amos George, to do. You, Amos George is Amos George of his own, Dollar Care of your own, but that's the jacket I'm going to be putting on here this evening, and I'm not sure whether it's going to be a surprise here. But let me look at you, and I know you're going to take it from a different comment and different aspect because you also belong to the opposition bloc. Let me hear. I just been message coming here to seditions going to be in Joe. They are heading as we speak from different uh, sectors of the demographic here in the U.S. all over. They're going to be there in colorful T-shirts we wearing, and buses going to be getting down all the way to the headquarters after the president speak. But Amos, you're smiling here. Maybe you get some other news coming in. Let me come to you first here. What are you looking for? What are you hoping to, or what are you looking to hear from the president's speech, or even after the president's speech? What are you gathering in terms of would there be any other discussions by the president with other world leaders? And what could the president remember? Election is ahead. I think this is a perfect venue where the presidents can also make an argument for the electoral process to be supported and any help in any way possible. I'm waiting to see if that's going to happen. What are you hearing?
I'm not hearing anything because really I don't have inside of the CDC led government, so I'm not hearing anything. But probably I expect him to make an appeal to the UN to assist with our electoral processes, and maybe he will highlight that only what they have been successful by elections, but then he can't say he have been free of violence. So that one of the things going to talk, and I think he might highlight the level of press freedom in Liberia, that hey, people have the free will to speak their mind without intimidation. Maybe he might highlight some of those things, and he might highlight some of the development that he has done over the past 4.5 years, and maybe based on that, he asked the international community.
Freedoms is it not an arguable point if the president were to express that?
Oh no, yeah, but yeah, the mixed messages. I mean, we know that some journalists were beating Morocco before on his watch. So how can you argue that? I'm not seeing that. There's press freedom in Liberia, but he cannot say absolutely nobody has been aroused. No, there are journalists. We know that.
Even in America here, press, we see how sometimes It does happen here.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I said those assemblymen, I expect him to will be highlighted to the internet.
Do you think there's going to be a change in narrative, the talking point, the conversation that we are hearing, this craziest video that came and all of that blaming, and like what Mike is telling now, that the city of the president, other group were blaming opposition, the other side blaming GOL. I'm sick and tired of this sort of thing here without being solutions oriented in our national conversation.
No, Mr. So we cannot be sick and tired because here's the thing here. There's wonderful video that have been circulating on the internet. The government immediately came to condemn it and point the finger at the opposition. But then the problem, I have a problem. Propaganda, you can't just blame it on one side. I said there are three ways. Either it could be the opposition. 2, it could be the government. 3, it could be somebody, some citizen who want to go after some people and create these things. So
in the case, the second video came from Pape Flombo.
Now,
Pape Flombo came.
And what Pape Flombo belong?
Well, I can't define his political identity, but I do know he supports the government. His support is being accepted and endorsed by the government, that's a different thing.
So that's why I said. Now, my point, when the government said the opposition, then I take a seat back. What is the evidence that has led you to conclude that it was the opposition? Because you are a legal person. If I say Mr. So did this thing, I'm not alleging. I'm saying Mr. So did it. I must be able to provide evidence to my audience.
Okay.
So,
yeah. I want us that video thing there. It just
okay.
I just wanted to make a one comment on it. The Ministry of Justice had said that it's going to launch an investigation into the video. Even though we don't have, I don't know whether there is a law on cyber crime in Liberia actually, but they said they're going to look at it. They're going to launch investigation. The Grand Jury Legislative Caucus, some of whom were implicated into the video, they too have been speaking here saying that there is a need to investigate the video to know the actual origin of the video. Artificial intelligence now and then is well advanced as such. So they have been, the government said through the Ministry of Justice said they're going to look at it.
They're going to look at it. They've been looking at a lot of things and we can't get results. So they are looking at things that I really don't count on that. Yes. Go ahead quickly. And
so here's the thing here, the UN thing. So this is the problem. The government of Liberia, they have disgraced the country completely.
How?
You saw it yesterday. They made the first lady president yesterday for Liberia.
What?
They made her president yesterday for Liberia. You saw in the hall where the president was supposed to sit. The Liberian is waiting there. They took the first lady and put her there. And you know, Mr. So you know the diplomatic protocol. Anybody that's sitting in that chair represent the country.
Yeah, she was acting as president.
She was acting president. That's what I'm saying. They made her president yesterday. They made her acting president yesterday.
Acting president.
So, to tell you, Liberia was member of the League of Nations, founding member of the United Nations. This is the first embarrassment ever in our country history.
Okay, hold on there. Hold on. I don't think we're going to be in the suit I'm putting on here. We're not going to
even though people have been saying that aspect of it is all trivialities, but again, protocol dictates that there should be proper sitting at such event.
That I agree with. We cannot just sweep that under the rug. And this comes to people who knows the right thing. It comes to the field process where the ambassador that is accredited here near the capitals of Washington, D.C., who going to be the chief protocol to lead the way through, who can navigate through the corridor, the walls of the United Nations, to make sure that the president is fully and properly facilitated into that War BKS chambers. I am not happy with that. But let me bring in Dulake this evening here. I'm not sure whether he's also from the opposition bloc. I don't know what his argument going to be. Amos Joyce already split green here. That is, of course, is as usual. Uh, I'm looking at after the president's address. All right. I'm looking out of here what are the other meetings, official meetings after the his official assignment with other world leaders. I'm looking at what that he's going to even inject into that speech tomorrow, making an appeal to the other bodies, donors, and major world lead countries to help Liberia. In the process, especially comes to see like the coming next year elections, they're going to be challenging. Logistics will be needed, trainings, capacity buildings, all of those things going to be needed. I'm looking at after the General Assembly whether the president will have that sort of engagement with some of the world leaders, advanced country, that they will help in our electoral process. Are you thinking in that same direction?
Yes, it's something that firstly it's something that we will anticipate, the president to engage. I mean, because there where all world leaders meet, and like we have said on the last show, the United Nations General Assembly is where policy making take place. Is the organ of policy making. It is where multilateral decisions are compiled for the essence of for the globe and the United nations and the world at large. It is important that you do your best to connect with people there so that you can, though it cannot be at the forum, but after the process, you want to exchange notes with these diplomats, different country leaders, so that you can see how you can attract things back home. But importantly, like I would say, we need to learn how to have allegiance to our nation, how to be patriotic to our nation. We need to learn how to grow the value system in our country so that we are committed to the dream of our country. If you were to ask an American child, his first and paramount concern is the United States of America. We need to grow that in our system. And by growing that, it does not mean that you cannot critique misgiving and missteps in your country. And for those who think that by correcting the missteps means that you are opposition and you are permanently an opposition to condemn the country, I think it is also unthinkable. Yesterday event, I mean, it was quite embarrassing, to be honest with you. We have not understood why the ambassador to the United States of America was recalled. We have no clue to that, especially in the wake of the president coming to the General Assembly. A key actor that should lay the protocol work for the president entering into the country and then introducing another new person. I think it was untimely, except he will prove to us that there are substantial reasons why that decision was taken, and without not taking it, it would have harmed us, for which he was recalled. But very importantly, on the flip side of whether the Candy Crush, the sitting capacity, those are things that we continue to say about the misstep of government. We now want to emphasize on it too much because we already know the Herculean task or the misgiving back home. But what I want to stress on very quickly is the political commodity in our country. Few weeks ago, I sat on this platform and said that we are running out of rice. And I think Mike Dam, my brother, will have to bear witness as to what is happening in Monrovia. A few calls that I made in Monrovia and Ganta, it has established that we have a shortage of rice on the market right now. My reading is that information I received is that 14 plus million that was meant to subsidize importers of rice have been squandered by the accused and sanctioned Minister of State, along with other actors who were on that committee. And so today we have rice shortage in our country. I'm also concerned, very quickly to just let go and others come in. I'm very concerned about the video that have been on the social media. Though I'm an opposition, but anything that will bring our ugly past should be resisted, should be condemned, and should not be given any space in our politics. And we all condemn that video wherever it came from. Those individuals, only heaven will hold them responsible for such an evil act. But what I draw my attention is that the government swift reaction to this video. I don't know whether it is because of the upcoming elections, but we think that government should at all times be swift in reacting to negatives of our country. The
So,
last decision of Grand Jida County at the National Elections Commission, I wonder as to whether the government is swift to find out what has happened to that fellow who diligently served his county, his country, and are gone missing. So we cannot filibuster, we cannot pretend to ourselves. And there where they will draw us in as opposition to make it to appear as though we are not seeing the good thing of the country or of the government. We are matching, we are doing matching principle. I mean, in accounting, you match the revenue, you match the revenue against the expenses, so that you have either a break even or you have a
does
profit
a
margin.
favor, before I go to Mike down, does it favor the opposition when these missteps occurring consistently or repeatedly within government?
Look, absolutely no. Absolutely no. Look, Mr. Cummings said at one of his interview, if President Weah would do the right thing to make and improve the livelihood of Liberians and improve governance, and by doing that, if that would make it difficult for him to be elected as an opposition, he should do it.
Is it
We
mere
want to
politics
have,
or
finally, we want to have a starting point as an opposition. If we should assume power, we don't want to have a no beginning. So we are not happy because that's why we are criticizing it and offering solutions at the same time.
Mike down? You want to come in?
Yes. Just want to come in a little bit. It's a serious thing. The issue of the shortage of our stable food on the market is very serious. This have been going on and on since the inception of this administration. It was, I think, early this year. Again, that the president had to go to the warehouse, had to visit warehouses at the port to ensure that rice were there. But unfortunately, those rice were not being taken to the market because of same reason that Dorake was just explaining. There was a promise made to importers to subsidize the rice so that price can remain at $14.50. But up to this time, we've been told that that money, that promise, is yet to be forthcoming. As a result, importers are holding on to the commodity. Yesterday, I'm a living testimony. My children, they bought a bag of rice. I mean, 25 kg, which we usually purchase around $15, is now $18. Yeah, in Monrovia. I'm not talking about all the places. $18 because 2,000 at the rate of $2,850 is about $18 instead of the normal $14.50. So the prices continue to skyrocket, especially our commodity, our staple food, which is rice, is very much a issue that I think upon his return, the president needs to look at it again, and it needs to be addressed adequately, not the usual way that opposition will be blamed, saying that there are insufficient rice in the country, but people lying that there's no rice on the market. Being on the market is one thing, and having, I mean, a scene being available at a affordable price is another thing. This is Also in the case of the gasoline, where on many occasions shortage hit the city, major cities across Liberia. So I think there's a need for prompt action so that the root cause of shortages always can be addressed. Because when the root cause is not addressed, usually we're going to see this over and over about the rice. Rice, is now a political commodity in our country.
Yeah, I know
So
it's all
it's a
things considered.
serious thing, really.
Yeah, I know it is all things considered, but let's focus, on we can maybe hopefully to conclude on this whole United Nation here. I'll try to figure out. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, this is what, because I look on the executive mansion, I just didn't see. Usually, it's these sort of high profile functions. You kind of give a little brief summary. Maybe I thought that what the press will release, the president will be talking, just give a little bit hint. That still it helps to stabilize a situation. We don't see that happening here. And I don't know, Imam Judge will not go my way here this evening. It's a clear indication. Is there any specific thing that you wish the president would talk about, even after the conference to meet? I'm not sure. We're not hearing anything. What I do know, seditions are going in draw to meet with the president. I don't know what they're going to, besides that, whether they're going to be having another sections with ordinary Liberians who maybe agree or disagree. Do you think, is that something you hope that the president could have done? Hey, here is Dr. Weah. I am your president. You agree with me? You don't agree with me? There are so many outlets here in the USA. I personally called the public affairs department to have gone there to cover, but what I heard, what I got, I look at it like no need. The last time when the first lady came for the women conference, we were there. We went through the formalities, we accredited, we did it. And we also want to be in these things when our leaders are coming, regardless of our agreement or disagreement with them. For me, I don't like to form judgment on people until you give me the cause to form a judgment, because everybody should be able to be heard. That's what this business is all about, you know. But do you think that's going to happen?
Mr. So, I'm waiting yet to see that. Because this whole trip here is like a zoo bush.
What are you talking about?
Mr. So, Mac is in Morovia. He cannot tell you the delegation that the president left with. There was no press release to different media outlets to say the president is leaving for the UN, and these are the people that are trying with him. This minister, this director, this person. That's normally the protocol. When the president is leaving for the UN, they gave that release. The delegation and the president is traveling, they are all listed. That will give me an insight what these people will come to do. But it was not, there was nothing in Morovia like that. All they heard that the president was traveling. That's it. People start wondering who all were on the trip. So you come to New York. Someone said it the last time. Now it was just the wrong time to recall the ambassador, because he was the guy on the ground. He should have laid out the groundwork, get in touch with other embassies. Hey, your head of state is coming. Your president is coming. I want my president to meet him on the sideline after the meeting, after the general. We don't know. And there's nothing out there to tell us, hey, after the president's speech, he will meet the social group, he will meet this president, he will meet that president. We don't see anything. So it tells you how disorganized these people are. Because you cannot just get up today and say you're going to meet the head of state or this tomorrow. No, it doesn't work like that. Those things have to be pre-planned, time allotted. It's a 5 minute, 10 minute, 10 discussion. Those things got to be laid out. Then the press corps of the executive management supposed to get a snapshot of how the president day will be tomorrow. Maybe after his speech, he's going to have 20 minutes, maybe with the chancellor of Germany.
Even if you're meeting with partisan, nothing wrong with that, but they should come out and make this thing.
So
I don't think there's any plan of such. If it were, probably we would have we would have heard that ever since before the departure. But again, on many occasions, from my experience, when the delegation is leaving, usually many of them are not being disclosed. The names of those who traveling and what specific at times it's not been disclosed until sometimes when there is a controversial issue that arises, and sometimes from the leaked letter, sometimes you're going to see the names of all those delegations, the members of the delegates that usually go with the president.
So, Mr. So, you see, this is the problem. And I was telling someone today, I said, we're supposed to sit down and look back, reflect back on Liberia. When you have men like T. and Eastmont, Ambassador T. and Eastmont, they let Willie Gavin, Charles hands full.
Ambassador Dore, Adolphus Dore.
Adolphus Dore. These were seasoned diplomats who you could call them men that they know exactly what to do. Because that is the responsibility of these people to go around and make all the lobbies and make these arrangements. So when the president comes, he said, okay, after my speech, I got 20 minute meetings with the head of state. This is what I will be talking to him about, because the ambassadors have laid the groundwork for all these things. Now, but that is not happening. What they want to do, they say, is the government is our dime. It's our nickel and dime you come on. So there should be no secret of meeting people on our behalf. We will be happy. Our president is meeting this person, the king of Jordan. Maybe he's going to discover oil. India, maybe he's going to talk about rice. All these things. But you don't hear anything. So these are the problem of our leadership today. For me, I just look at it that these people photo ops, because that's all you don't see. That's the way to the photo. When the General Assembly, they're taking picture. You see some people pointing their finger like this. My people, is that what you people came for? To talk serious issue? That's what you'll be doing? Yeah, you can have your pleasure after everything. But these are the missteps. Have something I've talked about, and people say, hey, I do not like the president. But why should I like my government to be embarrassing me, my country? Or people who...
Are you being embarrassed?
Yes, I've been serious. But now US is saying, you're being embarrassed. Everybody sitting on the parliament to be embarrassed. The way the government is conducting the affairs of the country, especially on foreign land. Because these mistakes should not be made.
I mean, it's unfortunate to saw some of those images, the chief of protocol almost playing the role like getting the Minister of National Defense. These are people supposed to be at a head table to meet with their counterpart, to share note. And I do agree, because even Samuel Doe honored his military, he as a military and later on transitioned to civilian. You have folks there, you call Ambassador T. Honest Ismo, he was at the Mana River Union. After where his Nibacos and some of those guys were moved, Doe needed to restructure the face of the government. And there was a need that the international community should accept and to change the narrative. And that's how T. Honest Ismo was tapped from the Mana River corridor, brought in to be the chief diplomat, to be the face of the government. Let me come to Dulake.
This woman said, Eugenia Stevenson.
Right.
Eugenia Stevenson, ambassador in Washington.
What is lacking with this protocol thing here? For God's sake, these are things that people should learn. It's common. I wouldn't be surprised if they sack or suspended Ambassador Showface. With this here, I think the possibility of him getting in, probably maybe to do well for his country. A lot of information we are getting, but we are not traditions of just breaking news. These things must be verified before you can throw it out there. But a lot of conversation is ongoing. Let me ask you, Lulake here. I think all things considered, your guy Cummings is noted of always speaking or saying something when the president, after president's major speech. what is the conversation going on within the ANC relative to this big speech that is expected tomorrow? Will we be hearing from Mr. Cummings possibly?
Uh, I can say as to whether Mr. Cummings will be speaking uh, to what he may not know what the president will be speaking about.
No, I mean after the president address, is it possible
Yeah,
that
that's what.
ANC will come with a rebuttal?
Yeah, but very interestingly, if it was about the country Liberia in as a specific, you know, conversation, I guess he may have some rebuttal or some correction made. But it is a policy making of the globe. I think some of the things that we are hearing currently, where Liberians are in the US here and the president will be here, my information, which is unsustained or unsubstantiated, is that he will be returning by Friday to go back home. I would be thinking, and that he has a restricted visa that
Come
cannot.
on, okay. Well, what you go? So, who get a restricted visa? Is the president? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm saying unsubstantiated. I learned that he cannot travel certain mile away from where he is, and I would have thought, look,
25 miles, I'm told. 25 miles.
I mean, it's public information until we
Hmm.
can substantiate it. I would have thought that he will be calling Alphonso Zean, since he cannot travel far off. Alfonso, you'll be calling Alfonso, you'll be calling Dennis Jar, you'll be calling Stanton and his crew, you'll be calling different media online, Liberian media online. Since he cannot engage the Liberian community, like Madam Sally would do, go from one state to another state after the program, and try to solicit good minds and new, fresh ideas to bring back on board and take back to the country as a means of getting in gear for the new year that is coming. But based on his restriction, I would think that he will call these media gurus, sit and have conversation about the country. And, I would think that that would be his line. But if he does not do it, definitely the ANC, it might not be Mr. Cummings, but we will definitely lambast the president for doing that, knowing that Liberians here are highly resourceful. In any country, the diaspora community is a resourceful community that can support the home base, and you should always be able to tap upon it. So I hope that he will look in that direction,
This seems to be
taking cue from this advice right now.
Mike. The tone of Dolake, who is a top insider of ANC, the politicians always don't just come out to let their cat out of the bag. But that tone, what I'm hearing, there seems to be a contingency plan that ANC or other oppositions will most likely capitalize if and if. And, sometimes I just don't know why. People are so protective, and it's sad because there are a lot of information coming, a lot of people sending stuff, but it's all because if you try to conceal things that you should have no business of, really saying, the delegations of the president, officials, people that are traveling, that should be published. It put to a rest of apprehension. And the reasons people want people to come, some of these people, they come for different reasons. They come to meet their counterpart. Maybe you have the maritime commissioner coming, you have a commerce person. You tap into the expertise of other people, successful nations, how they manage to transform things. Singapore and all of those places and things that we are talking about. There are people going to be coming all over those places. You bring those people who will tap into where you're falling short or where things are difficult. And especially, this is a perfect time. At least the COVID has subsided. The last time around, more or less, it was a virtual sort of conference.
Yeah.
And major elections, 3 major elections on hand. it is a perfect time where you can come and appeal and beg the international community. You're promoting good governance, democratic principles. Those are things that people want to hear. So you bring people that will also have the ability to be persuasive, to make the argument for the very institutions or agency that they work for.
Well,
I would be disappointed. Before you come in, I would be desperately disappointed, badly disappointed, if we can get sort of released to say, oh, this minister, that director, so person, they were able to meet something and just only have a, TikTok photo and all of that, picture, video, then that's an issue. Go ahead, Mike.
yes, the way things are going now, like Amos regularly put it, I don't think there are much planned silent activities. This is what they just focus on the speech of the president, because the speech of the president is just a 15-minute speech, and that is a global issue that you're going to be talking on. I know President Weah will talk about peace, as he does always talk about the maintenance of the peace, human rights, and so forth. Again, Liberians, or including me, will expect that there should be some other issue, that those that the president travel with, those different ministries and agency directors and ministers, who have been people that have some expertise that want to meet their counterpart to ensure that new ideas come about in transforming the country. But again, we eagerly wait and see. I mean, to see whether there will be any silent event, even if it's not a president, but probably is one of his key
Besides the
cabinet.
ECOWAS, because besides the ECOWAS meetings, which of course is most of the times when because the leader when they come, these other regional leader they use that time to kind of do notes sharing as well. Mhm.
Yeah, so like I was saying, Alfonso, expectations are so high that there should be new things coming out of such a meeting, from the side of the president, our meeting, other country. There should be some bilateral talks at the salon of the UNGA, like in previous government did. On many occasions, there are several silent events that are lined up after the official speech at the session. There are so many silent events. It used to be. Again, I don't think there's anything of such plan, because if it were planned, I think by now the information minister and other people would have let the cat out of the bag, say, oh, XYZ, after the president's speech tomorrow, he will be meeting XYZ, he's going to be going where, here and there. But since indeed we haven't heard anything, so it
Okay, we
means
don't want to. Yeah, we don't
we
want
don't we
to.
don't want to how you call it, speculate so much.
So
Uh, so it means it's not been planned in that way.
well, okay, we will not know all of the details. Like I said, a lot of information coming here. But let me ask you, Dulake, will there be change of narrative? Will we be having different conversations as we are having now? Oh, the president should have made this, the president should have done this. And the disappointment here is not just only because the reason some of these people here, the president travel with them is for them to also make themselves available, then that they could help to sharpen the, if not the in-depth message of the president's visit and some of the things, they can give a little bit synopsis. Maybe, this minister or this director, we are here and I'm looking forward meeting my counterpart from this country, from that country, because when that happens, it gives people a hope. And these things are happening like once a year. Very suddenly, look at how the COVID came, everything went downhill. So when you come on this sort of big donor conference, these big international gatherings, you want to make use of it. Dolake, would there be a change in conversations like we are having here tonight after tomorrow, or will we come back here and go into a gutter?
I hope it will end up very positively. I hope if it is not very late, they will tap on what we are currently saying tonight. And that's the reason why, as an opposition and as a Liberian with an allegiance to my country, I will not want to conceal such an information from the delegation. And the best means possible tonight is to say what I'm saying here, like all of us are saying, that they should tap upon the delegation. Again, it comes with, to whom much is given, much is expected. The president appointed those officials to act in a capacity, and they should be able to be fast thinker. They should be able to attract the needed attraction from those delegations and set the agenda for our country. I mean, we are having elections. There will be a lot of challenges during the election process. I just learned that the institution that should have been doing the biometric, as it was speculated, the PPCC had rejected, that Chinese company, according to the news what I read. And so there are too many challenges at hand for the continuance of our democracy, and the president and his delegation should be doing everything humanly possible. I got disappointed, and sometimes people don't want to say these things. But as a protocol person, my own dear sister Finda, without discounting her for any other surreptitious motive, but seeing, Bobe in front of you, in New York, it does not attract any bilateral, multilateral, conversation. And you cannot tell me that JFK is different from that of the hall. As long as he hit the ground running, you must be that person that can attract every needed opportunity to have conversation and talk better about your country.
It's like going for an interview, right? You're going for an interview. And I had an experience. Impression counts a lot. It changed the conversation. It makes the interviewer to kind of, or whoever you're going to meet, whatever apprehension they ever had about you, it changed their scenario. Wow. But people hear things. I thought it was X, Y, Z. I didn't expect this to see. So it neutralized the conversation here. Emma George, we're going to be pivoting here. Would there be any change in conversations? The unexpected?
Well, I'm waiting to see it because tomorrow is the last day, actually. The president's speech will be, I think, the dinner tomorrow night. And they will have the shake hand with the various leaders. And again, they are not putting anything on to tell us the itinerary of the trip. The press secretary, Smith Toby, those days, that's why your mentor then, Patrick Kumenen, this is a giving update on the president's travel visit. I'm finding this report from this point, telling us this is what the president had done and this is what he's going to do.
They could have engaged his media, different media outlets in the USA. I mean, he's coming here. So more or less concentration will be here. And news can easily come from here and even go back. But the idea of people being selective for this group of people, they are not my people or they are not for us, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so what they should have done, because they don't have money to pay the international media, they would have gotten us and said, look, this group, you all come here. After the meeting, we'll come and brief you people to let people know what the president is doing. But there's nothing like that. They are not inviting the diaspora media and the press secretary. They are not updating the Liberian people. So you can see the lack of experience of the people. Or it's not your arrogance, it's the lack of experience, the inability to handle the job that they have been tasked to perform. But everybody, all they want is photo up. And this is why the country is failing, Mr. Soe, because these people This is what they're supposed to be doing. But everybody wants to go and take for the big building. The president is at the UN General Assembly. That's not all. Like, people want to be informed on a 24-hour basis what the president is doing this time, what he's scheduled tomorrow. These things should be put on the executive mansion web page, and the president that should come up, release this thing to the Liberian people. But again, yes, the problem is also, since President WEAH got the power, 2000, he was shown in 2018, all the trip that he had made to America, has he gone outside New York to any other? The only place where I think was Chicago for that Army special program, where he flew there. But besides that, in Philadelphia, I can remember one revenue. What the revenue? They prepared a welcoming ceremony for president that he was going to go to Philadelphia, that visit, and wanted to say that the president could not come. Can you imagine? That alone, again, you create room for suspicions. Because these people have talked to you. You agree. They have prepared. The whole of, the people are playing music, dancing, that the president was coming. Only to be told that the president is not coming again. So, what is it that the president have against the diaspora Liberian? I'm not talking about me, but I'm saying the entire diaspora community.
But you are what? But are you not part of that community?
No.
So,
I'm nobody. But I'm talking about the other people. The supporters of George.
We're going to change the narrative. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a number. I'm going to put our number out here this evening. Like our followers, our onliners, you can send your question. You can call and just speak your mind. You know the rules of this network here. We don't insult. We critique. We put forward solution, and just say, hey, maybe this is what I hope to be hearing from my president. This is what I monitor, and who knows? I'm not sure who is the speech writer. Maybe finishing touches is being put, or maybe there will be adjustment in protocol.
Eugene Nangbe.
My man, you full of trouble. What do you mean by Eugene Nangbe?
I not Eugene Nangbe speaking.
Eugene Nangbe, I think, is acting in consultation with the. I believe with the vice president, who is it? Yeah, Eugene Nangbe is acting. He's running the affairs, right, in the absence of the president. Mike, is that correct?
No, that Musa Dean is in Liberia.
Yeah,
but the guy from Maritime, he's the one issued the press release about the president was welcome.
Yeah, so meaning who running the affairs of the country in the
Musa Dean.
Musa Dean in consultation with the vice president.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Justice Minister.
Again, they need to double up. If all the Liberian people will trust in with another 6 years, the government of WEAH needs to really double up on so many issues. For example, the Dolake was talking about the biometric card issue. There was a company that already going to agreement with the National Elections Commission, and that is clearly in violation of the PPCC Act of 2010. And so it's another problem. You're talking about almost $10 million contract. So it's a serious problem.
So let's do this here. I want to hear something good from my president. I want to see delegation people meeting, because these things put financial burden on us as well. That's the greater thing. So the number is there. If you are in the States or if you're outside here, you want to participate, let's hear you. What's your own anticipations of tomorrow conference? Okay, let's pivot here. Let's go to our man Dolake. Your man spoke yesterday, was in a primetime interview. Mr. Cummings, do you think he did what he could do to put this issue to a rest? From that, I listened to it for the most part. Before you come to that, Mike, let's get a reactions. What is Liberia? What Liberians are saying, those in the country, with respect to Mr. Cummings' appearance yesterday?
Well, as always, there are mixed reaction. People are those who are. It depends who you talk to. if you talk to sedition, they will say yes. All of what is been happening here is being masterminded by Mr. Cummings, even including the blog like him or yesterday. He was accused of being the mastermind of it, and so he was saying that no, stop playing victim. Don't cry too much. I mean, you are not doing what you're supposed to do, and you are playing, making yourself to be the victim. So actually, there's a mixed reaction. Some are saying yes, Mr. Kumi is saying the truth, because uh, how can the government will always react and blaming the opposition for whatever that happens? So in the public, to Atai Shop and few other places you go, you will hear a mixed reaction actually.
Okay. Do okay.
Yes.
Do you think this is going to be a long headache for your guy? Because from one thing to another, from one thing to another, that in itself, in the midst of this campaign, is a distraction because you cannot ignore those things. You have to address it. You have to answer questions. It takes away time. Strategy is failing, and all of that. Are they falling into this political boogie trap by other folks, super part, or those that are running these people here? Is that how ANC, is that part of his strength that he wants to show?
Firstly, I just wanted to, Mike is from the media, and so he's not a non-political person, so he had to be clear, and that's why he said the president and the government will have to do their best to redeem themselves of the next 6 years. But I think that the president being here, just before I go to your question, is more or less of the president redeeming his personal character from being in the kind of basket like Charles Taylor, the kind of scenario that Charles Taylor or the different world leaders who have been accused and who the US is looking at very critically. So I think that's where the president's decision will be rested for him to take the appropriate decision when he return and take the appropriate action. As to Mr. Cummings' engagement yesterday, there were few things that gave rise to Mr. Cummings appearing yesterday. One, the CPP creation. We are moving to election. We have learned about the biometrics, the censor, PYJ statement, sedition, holding all opposition, especially Mr. Cummings, for everything, including sunshine, rainfall, and even the first day, and the flag of Liberia, or the emblem of Liberia, or the name of Liberia been placed for the first day, and she playing Candy Crush. Everything Alice Cummings will be held responsible, and the opposition will be held responsible. It is simple. It is because Mr. Cummings is a thorn in their flesh, and he's on their sleeve. So yesterday, Mr. Cummings' deliberation targeted many of those things, but key among those things was the issue of why seditionists or the government keep holding him responsible. And to be honest with you, when you are less important, you will not be talked about. But when you are important, you'll be talked about. And so seditionists and the government must hold themselves responsible. If they were holding themselves responsible, they wouldn't have fired or they wouldn't have recalled the ambassador untimely enough, knowing that they are already going to a general assembly with these huge missteps given. They would have even counted on experienced people back home. No Liberian want to resist advising the government about rightful steps taken when they are approaching the United Nations General Assembly. Absolutely, I don't think any Liberian, whether opposition, no opposition, is prepared to stay in that way for the good of our country image. Why did Prince Johnson accuse Mr. Cummings? Not just only accuse Mr. Cummings, but also lied publicly on Mr. Cummings, some of which led some of the misgiving of Senator Johnson, which
I
led.
did the interviewer too yesterday, not to interrupt, and I hope I have the opportunity to talk to Mr. Coleman because I think there were some really questions that needed to be asked. Those questions wasn't asked, in my view. They wasn't asked, and he needs to answer some tough question. Why was that money even given to? Is that part of his humanitarian work given to Senator Johnson?
So
Johnson
let me
talks. He talks. He said a lot of things, but
let me
he
just
has his support.
let me just come to that money aspect. You know, today, if Madam Jua Hawatera have had a negative thought or sinister motive against Mr. Cummings, she would have come out and said, Mr. Cummings, help me, during the days 2016 when she was serving a board chair for St. Clement University. She went on True FM and she talked about the good attributes of Mr. Cummings in 2016. As long as it is education, Mr. Cummings does not have a boundary because it affects the livelihood of all Liberians. That is why he has made strides with the Nima University, the TU in Maryland, the AME University that have had innovative
So I would
studies.
have interest in knowing the timing of he going to was this a donation or free will humanitarian gift was given? It was a given prior to his asking for his support as alleged by Senator Prince Johnson. Do you know any of that?
So as a matter of fact, is contradictory because one, I cannot think that Mr. Cummings asked Senator Johnson to support in 2017 because Mr. Cummings only stopped at the first round, and Senator Johnson was also contesting in that very election. So it's not possible to ask somebody who is contesting against you to support you. If we were to come to the 2023 election, it is not also possible because Mr. Cummings support the World Economic Crime Court establishment, and he has publicly said that. So it is an irony to Senator Johnson. Anyone who supports World Economic Crime Court, it is not Senator Johnson's friend. So how can this man request of your support? What I think Senator Johnson is doing is that he have requested for Mr. Cummings' assistance, and because Mr. Cummings responded to his assistance, he wants to tie it in with political game and score political point at Mr. Cummings. I think this is what he did in principle, in practical. But it just shows the disingenuous attitude of our leaders. It shows how they do not respect themselves, how they are not committed to what they really say, because it is not equivalent.
Okay, Amos.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. I believe you made it known here you are a supporter of ANC.
Yeah.
Where is the ANC slipping here politically, and where is the runt of Alexander Cummings? I'm not sure whether the ANC folks too are looking in his eyes to tell him, is he on track? Is he really connecting, communicating with the Liberian people as it should be, as the politicians who seeking for the higher office of the land?
Yeah, I mean, he's communicating, but again, it rarely can be defined who is getting the message. I wanted to go back to something. I listened to Prince Johnson. When he was asked, did you take money from Mr. Alexander? He said yes.
Okay, we're getting more interesting here now.
Yeah, and they said that, but he's a gay. You say he's a gay. He said no. The humanitarian side is different from his lifestyle. So the money was given as a humanitarian to Prince John. He himself said it. Then he said, the man say he's not gay, but he support the lifestyle of gay. So that means he's a gay.
Do you think Cummings has adequately explained himself? I'm listening to
Yes.
the Sister Network. I'm coming. You're going to respond. Sister, good evening and welcome. I know. Thank you for coming. Jumping from dealing with those people from class want to come here. That's the commitment here. But coming back to your point, do you think Alexander Cummings has adequately addressed himself with this whole gay issue here? And what is the meaning of lifestyle struggling? What is a connotation? What is the interpretation? I don't know whether he has actually been asked. This Prince Johnson was very loud and very clear and very boastful. That's why he's saying. That's what he believes Comey is. And this is a narrative that is out there. I was listening to Freedom, which is also a multi of the GOL. No, listen. Everybody get their own. It's like people facts here, you listen to facts here, people communicate. And that's the conversation. Do you think he has really put this to rest? Because this he got to deal with this.
Mr. So, we are hosting Mr. Comment on the show. Say he's not gay. He had gone on Spoon TV. Say he's not gay. And this thing was concocted by Obe. Another young man.
I think I have that video set, in fact.
Yes, Obe. Another young man from Nimba County. He was with CDC at the time. He explained the video there. Maybe one day you can find the video and play. He said, look, we look around, we didn't see anything on comments. So he said, the only that came out, asked what you said, look, Liberian people don't let it word gay. I would say the men are gay. And today, it's stuck with him. So he had gone very never explain, I'm not gay. Look at the man lifestyle. Okay, he said he's not gay. And somehow know him. We know people who are in this thing, and we know them. We know their lifestyle. We know you can be married that you're not hard. We know. But Prince Johnson, again, decided to use this thing as a weapon against Alexander Cummings, because knowing the kind of society we have in Liberia, that people.
So what, even if it was not, why this war, how this war came in before I bring in Sissy to say he was struggling with, what was he saying? What was the struggling aspect of that?
For one now,
the lifestyle struggling.
Oh no, this guy, he's not struggling with it. He's not gay. He explained it all over. Obe was the one who invented this thing and put it on comments. And Obe had gone back to retract the statement. But today, Prince Johnson is picking it up.
No, I'm talking about the interview with the late Mohammed, what his name? What this guy? He has his own talk show. This Daraki or whatever. I just finished forgetting his name. May his soul rest in peace.
Quickly, Mamadi Diakete. About very quickly, Uncle Josh. Alex Cummings coming from a tall tower in Atlanta of Coca-Cola, where nobody at that level can condemn gay and the rights of gay in America yet. It is something not necessarily that he does it, but the society that he came from, it is not something that you condemn there.
Okay, so then they get some. Okay, then let me just hold you right there. Then this is where they get something in public speaking to know your audience. If I'm talking to the community here, when I came here, you believe me, it was crazy. That's the time Massachusetts, a lot of people used to be coming in. Other states they have bans, so Massachusetts, I forget it. So when you see, it was strange, it was weird, and to the extent my supervisor asked me, but was still kind of novice to the culture here that is accepted. I like, listen here, when you ask people don't do it in our country, when you do that thing here, you will be outcast. Nobody is real.
Let me just end my thoughts so I can leave.
I made that clarification over and over. In fact, here you go, how you call it, ballistic, by saying that if you think that he's gay, he will bring a wife in the trial. He had done it constantly. So the reason is that they cannot find no dent on him, and they want to stick one like Obe did, and so they will keep spinning it and spinning it and spinning it. But we will get there.
Okay.
Let me say this.
Right. Go ahead before I bring in Sissy.
Yeah, let me just close it before I leave. The assertion that Prince Johnson made that comment approaching about Jeremiah Coon. Mr. So I will talk to you. It's a lie. Prince Johnson cannot say that it's not coming one to him personally and approaching.
Is that what coming to you?
Mr. So, I'm speaking from the credible source. Somebody went and approached Mr. Cummings. Said, I want you to carry this man as a VP. It was that person that went and told Prince Johnson.
So are you saying he Cummings did not meet with Jeremiah Coon?
No. It was somebody.
Did your source also tell you whether Comey ever visited Prince Johnson or not?
My source did not. The source told me Comey did give money, and Prince Johnson called somebody that I know. Tattoo Totman was the one that Comey gave the first $25,000 to. Tattoo Totman was the one Comey gave the first $25,000 to carry the Prince Johnson. So
why he himself didn't deliver it?
Well, Mr. So, if you ask me for something and I send it to somebody to bring it to you, it's not being delivered.
I'm just curious what after
the person name, they didn't say don't call the person name. So he called the person name and say, hey, this is the person that they gave the money to bring to me. So, let me just close on it because I'm leaving out. I got some audience to take there. So let me say this. The conversation will continue. Say.
How you doing?
Oh, you see that? I speak a lot to the man. I'm speaking.
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you, Mr. George. Come on.
You for you. I see you, brother. Mr. So I'll see you later. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so welcome. Thank you so much. I know you had to date and still managed to jump in here. It's better late than never. In the first phase, we're just profiling whether they want to be a change in narrative.
I had my earpiece in my ear, listening to my professor and listening to you. I had split.
You're hearing talk. Yeah. Okay. Do you forecast that happening after tomorrow evening? Will we have a different conversation? The protocol aspect, it was chaotic. It's a mess that has come and gone. What can they do to put that away? Will we see the president having engagement with other war leaders? I mean, enough is not being said. I'm reviewing the official website of the executive mansion. Besides the 5 o'clock meetings with ECOWAS, regional state members, and all of that, we don't see any other thing here. But is that a surprise? Are they offered to tell us and maybe waiting for us to see it happens before they can let us know? Any change, you think?
No, I don't, and it's sad to say it that way. But anyway, thanks for having me on. Apologies to our viewers, but I do not think that that there's going to be any change for the positive, because up to now, right now is when we should be talking about what the president will be talking about. There should have been a preview of the president's speech. We don't want the entire speech, but you give us the key points that you think he's going to touch on. So we'll be here, talking about them and saying what we hope he's going to talk about on climate change. What do we hope he's going to talk about in regional security, given the attempted coups in Sierra Leone and the coup in Guinea, and what is his plan for regional peace and regional stability? What is he going to talk about when he talk about sustenance and development of how can the United Nations and wealthier countries help poorer third world countries become self-sufficient? Right, so those are some of the things that if they had laid out, we will be here discussing, but they haven't even done that. And so the presidency is still shrouded in secrecy to the point that he's traveling to the UN General Assembly to make a speech on our behalf. And this is not going to be, the state of the nation address. This is a speech that has to be both outwardly focused and looking at how does that benefit us. And we don't know anything about what he's going to say. It's almost like a sermon. The pastor is about to preach. We don't know what he's going to say until he gets on the pulpit. We can't continue to do that. And if you look at what's happening, I'm just seeing. I've been following some videos. They're making this thing into a CDC retreat. So places that he's going to go to meet with people, he's going to meet with CDC USA. So then, what is the change? So I think these guys are dug in. I think they've been campaigning for the last 5 years. They did not manage to get out of campaign mode into administration. And so they continue campaigning until we get to 2023. But I sadly don't see what that change is going to be. And this was a chance for the president to reset. You've been at the General Assembly. You've had so many missteps in your protocol. Do you now say, you know what, we'll be at a Liberian local church in Staten Island or somewhere here. This is where the president is going to go to church. You show up.
You know, and it's not just, you know, CDC USA is trucking a few people and getting them somewhere to hold placards, and this is where the president is going to go.
Okay.
Yes, like Sister said, and we've been saying it, I think they should learn from what is happening tonight. I think this broadcast is one of the broadcasts that lifting up what the president should be doing. You can truck all you want to truck. Liberia isn't the Republic of CDC. It is the Republic of Liberia. And the people who reside there aren't seditions. They are Liberians. And if you are afraid to engage here, I don't know who else you'll be seeking votes from. Many of the conscious conversation that exists in our country comes from the diaspora. Because one, these group of people pay their internet bill and a flat rate and have free access to it. They are on the wire like you are on right now, other platforms. I would have thought, and I still think that the president, whoever listening from the president camp, will now have to call you guys and listen to you and learn from you some of the conversation Liberians have been having so that he can take it as a corrective measure to institute it, not just for a re-election, but at least just to redeem his own character so that Liberians can say we have a president once who was former world best in football. He came to government. He governed 4 years to 5 years. He didn't really perform. By the end of his tenure, he did extremely well. And these are the things that he did over the period of time, though Liberians had to elect him out. That is a history. And so whether we for opposition, no opposition, there is a fair recommendation that is placed before the president. Where will he be visiting? His 25 miles that his limitation, can he not go beyond it? Can he visit some churches? Can he visit some organizations? There are big Liberian organizations in the USA. Can he engage some of them? Can he engage some professional Liberians? Because the ambassador has every need of Liberians in America. Can he put Liberians together?
Okay.
I mean, that's how Cummings was fetched out doing Ambassador Slunter, according to information that I got. That when you look through the directorate and saw Alex Cummings, and people start to connect with him, and he started to connect. And so you have to look at different means, different medium through which you can connect. You can only govern when you are innovative. You cannot govern by trucking sedition, being in a opposition move from 2012. You are now a government. Listen to your people, take corrective measure. The one that doesn't make sense, leave it aside and utilize what makes sense. That's all we are saying.
Okay, let's see what I can knock heads together here now, because you're trying to see coalition with Sissy here, but I think you're going to split win here. Look, Sissy, let me ask here: if is Prince Johnson, is he's sanctioned too, correct? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Considering that is a serious concern. This guy Cummings, he said he a humanitarian, but there are a lot of things attached to this gentleman who is using his local state power. His local state means senator in the place, so more or less that America doesn't have anything to do with him, and giving him 25,000, 50,000, some whatever thing on the humanitarian ground. Does that make him part of running that a criminal corrupted scheme? Because how can he explain this? This guy is on a sanction. He knows it. From all indications, everybody calling on him to appear before the war crime court. He still enjoys it. We don't know whether that's going to come. But given that, is there another version of he coming saying directly, hey, this is it, but I need vote. You can talk to your people. Is that something? Well, how can he get himself out of this whole thing here?
I think because of the solid characters of Prince Johnson, I think people are trying to throw the child with the bathwater away together. I don't think Cummings should be demonized or should be chastised for giving to charity. I don't think so. Prince Johnson runs a school. Let's remember that. Prince Johnson runs a school, a high school. I think he even got a university now. And so are we to say that if a child in Nimba County tries to enroll in Prince Johnson University and Cummings or any political leader has the ability to have that child, they should say, no, you cannot go to Prince Johnson University. You got to go somewhere else for me to support you. I think that would be dangerous. Joshua Milton Bly, General Budnicki, is a pastor in Monrovia that does humanitarian work. I have given to his work. I didn't support what he did when he fought for Roosevelt Johnson. I don't support what he did for Roosevelt Johnson. But I would not go to Joshua Milton Bly and give him money personally for himself or to say this is my spiritual leader. I would not do that. Just like I would not go to
where is the measurement that we have? Whatever money that was given, because George was definitive to say the money was delivered to him. So how do we determine how much was used for the school and how much was used for
no, I'm not even saying it was given for the school. I'm just saying as an example. But if Prince Johnson has a humanitarian organization, when we give to humanitarian organizations, we don't tell them you have to use 10% for overhead and 90% for the project. We don't do that. Okay, and so I think all of us have given to humanitarian causes in Liberia. So I think to hold Cummings feet to the fire to try to make him look like he is now in a group of deplorables simply because he's given to humanity, I think is wrong. I think what we ought to do though is to find out under what pretense he gave the money. Was it for humanitarian purposes, and what was the ask? How did Prince Johnson get to ask for that? And what did Cummings knowingly fund? If he was funding Prince Johnson personally, then that's a whole different thing. But if he was asked to support a humanitarian cause in Liberia, in Nimba County, any county, and he gave that money, I think we should be applauding him for giving his money, for even looking beyond the bad character that Prince Johnson is, to say, I can look beyond all the evil he's done to help other people because he's stretching arm to other people. I think that was not a bad thing. I think we should be applauding Cummings for that instead of vilifying him.
Do you think he has put it to rest? No. We want to make sure how these funds because the reason we are asking all of these critical questions to say though, because this is, I know Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson is like a slope. You can't stay on him. You can't go down with him. You can't. He dumps you anytime, any hour, any minute and seconds. Nothing is inherent with him. Now he's talking a lie, saying Cummings wants his support. Jeremiah Kuhn and all of these things that he's inserting into this conversation here.
I know I own. Yeah.
So, given all of that, do you think it's a violation of the sanction as well?
Okay. So here is the thing: the sanction, I don't think it banned people from participating in humanitarian causes, right? So it doesn't say when we say don't do business with this person, it doesn't say you can no longer help them if they have charity organization. I don't think that's what it says. And if that's what it says, then yes, we need to hold Cummings accountable. But I don't think that's what the sanction says.
Can anybody give to Nathaniel Magina, for example, if he's running the charity, even though there's a saying that the sanction says there should be any financial engagement with this individual. There is no exception to Prince Johnson.
Well, I didn't read. So I'm not going to speak to that because I haven't read that in detail, that there cannot be any financial stuff. And even though Prince Johnson runs a charitable organization, that you cannot even support his charity. And if that's what it says, then I think we need to ask Cummings to account for that. But you asked a question about, has this been laid to rest? And that brings me back to my brother, Jonathan. Remember the last program we were on? I said the ANC has to come out. They cannot allow this to fester. They have to come out and vehemently and logically, step by step, counter this narrative, because the narrative of of the Coca-Cola thing, the narrative of the struggling. And I like that Jonathan put that in perspective today, because I would say out here for my public, I'm a teacher in a public school. I do not discriminate against my children for their sexuality.
Hold on 1 second, Jennifer. Are you playing something? We're having like a background. Somebody. Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead. I think somebody.
So I would not come out here and try to talk negatively about sexuality of people. So what Cummings was saying, because I went back and listened to that tape over and over, it was in context. He was asked about sexuality, and he said, and people just took a clip. But what Cummings said, and we listened to the entire context, was that he has struggled with that on what position to take as a public figure. Because in America, in Coca-Cola, people are allowed to express their sexuality. And he might not agree with it. He does not agree. He's a Christian. He does not agree with it. So he struggled with that. On the one hand, you have to respect people's humanity. You have to respect people's sexuality. When you become president of Liberia, you're going to be president of everybody, whether they're gay, straight, or whatever. And so he struggles with that. And out of us in our life, there are certain things that run counter to our own philosophy, that run counter to our own upbringing, and we struggle with that. But people took that clip about his struggle with their lifestyle, and they just ran with it without listening to the entire context. And I think that's what Cummings was speaking through. But the point here, though, the bigger point here, Mr. Soe, is that the ANC has done Mr. Cummings a disservice, because they had not come out and organize a robust campaign on how to fight back misinformation about Cummings. And it's not, my brother Jonathan here is saying exactly what happened in that perspective. But how many people that have been involved with the machinery have been coming out and saying that? No, they don't. They just go back to obey. Why are we trying to elevate obey? Forget obey. Talk about the context in which the man spoke and move on.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Yeah, because like I was saying, they are banking on that now. And, when these things consistently and repeatedly knocking on people's ears, this is it. And that's what people are going to take away with. That's what they're going to run with. And like I said, I was listening to Freedom Time this evening. That's it. And mind you, it's not just only Moravians. People outside of Moravia voting bloc. They are listening. This is this guy. And Prince Johnson came on such a big public network to just spill that out, and we didn't see anything, like you said, to come out to debunk that immediately. It took time. That was just a little bit slacking behind.
Who did not come out to debunk the ANC?
After that, Prince Johnson's those comments on Spoon.
So a few things very quickly. One, your question was as to whether Prince Johnson giving money to Prince Johnson was against the Global Magnitsky Act. So we have to firstly establish when was the money given to Senator Johnson, because by December 9, 2021, the Global Magnitsky came against Senator Johnson, for the record. And if the money was given prior to that time, then of course it doesn't suffice. Two, Senator Johnson is on record, public record, of soliciting funding for his university opening, and even challenging the Woody establishment to that effect. And so it was far before he was sanctioned. So I just want to lay out that basic. As to the response to Senator Johnson in a statement, or looking at the magnitude of the money that was given, as former Deputy Secretary General for Media and Public Affairs of the ANC 2017, I'm aware fully that Mr. Cummings supported hugely Nima Community College, especially the engineering department or the science department, more than that amount that you're talking about over a period of time. I'm also aware that the AME University graduate program, Mr. Cummings has supported quadruple times than that amount that Senator Johnson is talking about. I'm aware that the vice president and the sitting vice president of our country had come on True FM 2016 to appreciate Mr. Cummings for enormous support towards St. Clement when that university was at a crumble level. And she appreciated and said he's so gentle and so philanthropic in his assistance. If Vice President Joao Taylor decided to score political grade, probably because she been condemned, assuming without admitting, by some ministry or some global people, and try to score grade, it will be left for other us as to judge what that means. But what I can say today is that given our exposure in America, like Cece said, nobody goes out here looking at somebody to even complain of people being suffering for obesity. It's common as it is, ordinary as it is, to just look at somebody and say, you're too fat. You don't do that in this country. So imagine if you had to go to sexuality before Alice Cummings can leave the tower of Coca-Cola to come down. The stock market of Coca-Cola would have dropped considerably and he would have been condemned ever in his life. So if somebody said they struggle with something, there would be many meanings to it. But one of the key meaning would be that to even phantom that a man will go into such a habit is already struggle with.
Do you think you are being more explicit knowing the terrain, the environment he found himself, the conversation you are having? And I was just talking about know your audience. If you are a public speaker, there are certain places in order for that communication gap to break through, to be able to resonate. There are certain places you use certain words. There are certain places you do certain things. Do you think he could have done it if the opportunity is given to him differently? Do you think will you say what he's saying today?
The opportunity have been given to him, but it is just selected of what the media want to carry. And like Sister said, we have had some issue. Probably we have not hammering the conversation very well. And for me, there is no limitation to learn. So I think Mr. Cummings had made it publicly 2017 that he's married to a beautiful wife, almost 30 years by then. Mr. Cummings said he got 2 children with grandchildren. By then, I think there were 2 grandchildren, probably by now it's 3. And he said he went ballistic on that day with huge media audience. That if you really doubt it, maybe you have to bring your wife to be tried. That was being sarcastic. But I think it is not just the issue. I listened to Truth FM 2017, and one of the well-learned, well-educated person, our Ente Miata Formula, because they have been struggling to stick something on him. And she said that to have reached the head jailer of Coca-Cola, Mr. Cummings, it was not possible for Mr. Cummings to have reached that level without being an American citizen. I debunked it by just going through Google. But then I went there and sat with Mr. Cummings, and he said that even the person who represented Coca-Cola legal team came from England. And there were several individuals that came from different countries. But because they want to narrow, they want to reduce the essence of his ascendancy in Coca-Cola to just being giving a pass. So you either link him by being an American citizen, by having some level of opportunity, and that no Liberian can succeed in such means. And I learned from him, even by that the person who was heading West Africa or somewhere in Ivory Coast or Guinea was our foreign minister named Fine. That's when I learned it. So Liberians have been doing things at different levels, but as long as you come into politics,
everybody trying to get a pick.
Yeah, as long as you come into politics, and I'm not mentioning Fine because it was one of the Fines who worked with Coca-Cola then that he referenced me to as a means of people from different colors, different group of people working at different levels. So these are things that happen, but when you hit Liberian politics, look, people will look for every Tom, Dick, and Harry in order as a means of condemnation against the repetition of an individual who is believed to not be corrupt, who is believed to not be involved in surreptitious things that will
That's the
draw.
same way we beat on George. We are on a lot of things. You are muted if you're talking to us. Is it? That's the same way we beat on George where we are other things. So when these things happen, we don't have to be selective. We got to
No, no,
kind of like pour it out because definitely all of these things we are given the opportunity to have enough information. So comes election around the season, we'll not be distracted. We'll be able to focus on the real issue. And so, I mean, I think it's better we are having this kind of conversation at this time. The sooner the better than to do it late because definitely this is going to be the soundbite. And I know CDC going to run with it. Even his opponent from the opposition as well. They will also kind of factor in this because it's been seen potentially maybe to take some votes from him based on what the people are going to be hearing, knowing our society, and stuff like that.
it is appreciated, but people should learn to. That is the sedition. They don't have the moral grounds except the propaganda. Maluba Malu is on record, public record, radio record, to have said that Akara's grave was kissed by George Weah. I mean, that's public record. So I don't know which moral ground will have to come talk about such a thing.
Mr. Soe, I'm enjoying this back and forth between the both of you and talking about who Commies love and who Commies doesn't love and who he sleeps with. How does that help my uncle in Zlowell, Zozo district, who doesn't have access to tobacco rice that have just gotten very expensive on the Liberian market, or that have one government hospital functional in the entire Lofa County, and that is about at least 45 miles away from him in a bad road? How does who coming laws affect the access and availability of quality education to people in Kawiakin? How does who coming law affect or limits the coming of job creators and investors into our country? I think the more we continue to focus on the sexuality and the sex, the partner of the choice that adults are making. We're not talking children, we're talking adults. I think it cheapens our conversation. I think it creates a problem where our people go to vote, again, not voting as educated people. I want to talk about what it is that Teon Say Gonglo is going to do for our Liberian people. I want to hear the ANC talks about what is it that Commies is going to do. How does he stand apart from Gonglo, from George Weah, from VP Boakai, and how do we make the case to the Liberian people? Right, but the longer we stay talking about this thing about who Commies love and who kills who in kills who, George Weah has his Dior commercial where he's in the Speedo walking around. Right, that does not bother anybody much. So for me, again, it might be me being too long in the West, but who adults choose to sleep with does not bother me. What bothers me is what decisions are you making to protect the most vulnerable among us? What decisions are you making to make sure that people don't continue to rape our children and rape our mothers and beat our wives and beat our sisters and go with impunity? That is what I want to hear about, not what adults are doing willingly with their own lives.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a fair analysis, but understanding the society we live in today, because when these things are not properly explained, if we don't have an in-depth as to how this conversation comes about, then they're going to also say, so it's better, I think, to talk about it at this time, and then when election comes, because that way we're going to be focusing on these people's agenda. Well, like, hey, 4 or 5 months ago, we've been having this sort of conversation. He has said who he is. We take him for his word, whatever life he wants to live. I mean, that's it. We see it here. It's happening in this society, but we find ourselves in a society that is some sort of secluded, so it's horrifying, but hey, that's the people's lifestyle. Can you come out? Can you come in this country in society and go say, oh, I don't want to do this? You can't even mention that on your job. You can't mention that on your job. This is why they have this orientation, endless orientation when you go to job. Hey, there's a cultural diversity in this society here, in this country here. You have to live by it. Other than that, just stay in your own house.
You're
But
right, Mr. So on the issue of our country, you're right. And that is why I come on this platform after school. I'm still sitting in a university place. I call my wife and say, I can't be driving and be on, so I got to sit there and talk and then get in the car and go home. Because I believe that what we do on this platform is we're setting ourselves apart. We're providing education. So I definitely agree with you on that. You know, we have to educate our people, because somehow in Liberia, you point to two people, you say that is a rapist, and you say that person is gay. And they will run to crucify the gay person, then and leave the rapist alone. We're willing to forgive rapists, people who force themselves on other people, and sometimes kids, and go after people, adults who are making adult choices, right? So I get you. We got to educate our people. My only thing is, I think Doloke is a very good communicator, and I know that the coming of Louis Brown, that they will work together and harder to try to push the narrative, because they allow that thing to sit there, and now they're making all of us now Kewangonglo supporter to discuss their thing that they didn't deal with effectively. You know, so I will hope that they deal with the Prince Johnson issue effectively. So come campaign time, we can sit here and talk clearly about where Tier 1 stands, where Komi stands, and how we differ, and how are we alike, and we let the Liberian people make their choice, instead of talking about who gave Prince Johnson $25,000 for charity and whether Komi is gay or not.
Your guy now is in a, he's really in the political ring now. We can say he's on the way to where he wants to be. You as a supporter, you as an educator, I know your passions, I know where your talking point lies, and I know where your emphasis always been. But what will you like? What will you, because more or less he had a ticket now for representing a political institution now. What next for him? What would you like to see him talking at this point in time? Because I mean, he's been a show now. First, there were apprehension. Oh, will he get a nomination of his ticket? All of you guys never knew what going on, but you are putting all at war face here, brave rate, and I must commend you from now. What next for him? What should be his focus now?
So now he's in a different place now, right? And we don't want to behave like the CDC. We don't want to get stuck in one gear. So now we're shifting gear. Now he is the candidate, the endorsed candidate for his political party. Now the political party machinery is behind him. Now he can speak as a candidate, not as an expert, not as, you know, well, I'm going to go to convention and see if I win. Right. So now we got to transition. Now there has to be a platform, and that platform now, because initially he released a 10-point bulletin. That 10-point was his ideology. Now that has to be fused with a party ideology to come up with a platform that he's going to run on. And we expect that he will lay that out. And this is where we are expecting him to us. The same thing I'm holding Komis accountable for here, or holding George we are accountable to, and the vice president accountable to, is what I'm going to hold him accountable to. Now we got to start finding out, what is the shadow government? Who are those people that are giving him economic advices? What is the committee he has that's giving advice on defense and on national security and on healthcare? This is where now we start to see the rubber meets the road. We will be expecting that. And this is where now we're also expecting our candidate that he will make himself more available to local press and to Liberian-run press organizations, so that he can answer the question that the Liberian people are asking. And so to that end, I guarantee you, to the extent that I still have access to him, we'll make him available. In fact, we made him available to people like Susan Bangede, right? Those seditions, hardcore seditions. He went on their Facebook, and he answered questions. So we're not going to hold him back from anybody. It can be a pro-government group. It can be whatever. As long as they treat him with respect, we'll bring him and let him ask the questions. By the way, he's expected to be in the U.S. in November. Coming now as the newly minted political leader of his political party. So we will work around to see how we can get him on this platform to answer questions that we all have.
Sissy, from what I'm hearing now, probably I'm heading ahead of my shadow. You could, or you are more or less going to be in the front of his political marathon. Will we see at some point in time playing more active role with his campaign with assigned duties? Possibly.
I don't know. I really truthfully don't know. I think
that it's not on the table.
Right? No, it's not. It's not because, but I do. The thing I say sometimes might come back to haunt me, right? Because I've told people that I'm not a party loyalist, and so I support Tiawan Gonglo candidacy for the presidency. It doesn't mean that everybody that his political party endorsed for Senate and representative, I'm going to endorse them. No, I might end up endorsing some ANC folks who are running for Senate. I might end up endorsing for some CDC people who are running for the House if I truly believe in their ideology. So I think with that, the political party might not want me taking a key role, but I know maybe as a candidate, he might want me taking a key role. But whatever I can do to promote Tiawan Gonglo to a presidential aspiration, I'll do it. If he asks me to play a key role, I will do that. If he doesn't want me to play a key role and wants me in the back to lean on me and ask me questions about education, I will also do that. Whatever I can do, but nothing is off the table. But I just want people to know, because I like to be truth and upfront with people, that I am not beholden to a political party or a political club that we do in Liberia. I am supporting Tiawan Gonglo because I believe in what he's done, and I believe in his standpoint he put forward. Whatever party he goes with, I will have to support him in the political party choice he makes. But that doesn't mean I get to support that political party.
Before I go to Delicate, you as a teacher, will you set an extra or will you set a different standard regarding Councillor Gonglo coming from his professional background, things that he's been involving in the past to where he is now seeking for the higher office of the land? Will you create a high standard for him than any other candidate for that matter, you think?
Absolutely, because we need better. If I'm going to lower the bar, or if I'm going to set the same bar as every other candidate, then why am I not supporting that candidate? And I don't want to do like the CDC that, they came and said they would never be the saints and everybody else was the devil. And every time they do something, you ask them and say, oh, but the devil did it too. Right. So I am going to hold my candidate to a higher extent. And beyond me being a teacher, he is a professor. He is an educator. Tiawan Gonglo is a teacher. So we have to hold him at a higher level. And to some extent, I think that's what they do to commies. I think people expect more out of commies, and that is why they keep holding him at a higher level over and over. Because if people didn't expect anything out of him, nobody would be criticizing him every time, he sneezes. The cost of back there when the rice price go up, it's commies that is hiding the rice, right? When there's no water to tip out in your well, the ANC can't do oil water and when to buy. So I think the criticism is because people expect more. And so I will be expecting more, and I've always been expecting better and more of my candidates. So absolutely, the bar will be high when it comes to how I hold Councillor Gonglo, because I expect him to do better, and I know he will do better because he knows better.
Okay, so Delicate, time is running out here. Finally now, it is known, it is established, Councillor Gonglo now going to be heading the political party. Can we say, first to say now, ANC will be more engaged in having a conversation? Because Mr. Kume, he said that the confederations with these parties here, it's not a closed one, it's an open one. He said they're going to go all out there to have conversation with those people here. My guess here, the conversation with Tiawan Gonglo folks now going to be intensified, correct?
We are very hopeful that political amalgamation can take place, and Councillor Gonglo is one of the reputable person. I just listened to the chairman of the ANC today for his Senate office, and he said clearly that the CPP is trying to co-opt two other political parties to join her, and very soon those parties will be joining. Councillor Gonglo is one of the funniest
parties. Do you know Liberal People Party possibly in that configuration?
He didn't call the name, and I don't know yet which political parties are. But like I said, Councillor Gonglo is one of the funniest species Liberian in our country, and working with him can never be discounted. It's always a plus. We will hope that we can get as much as possible professional Liberians on this team, on the thing, in order to improve our country. Like I said initially today, our country and the level of education for us should be about allegiance to country, patriotism, value, value of the system and improving the value system of our culture so that we know where we belong, we come from. We have the different political organizations and institutions, not necessarily on ideological ground, but just because we see governance from different perspectives, and we all condemn the same wrong, but how practical are we to put these things into motion is what our challenge has been over the 175 years. And so the CPP would love to see all Liberians from all walks of life, diaspora and local, and just everybody here on deck in order to improve the livelihood of our country. And so the thing is open. It is a big thing. And we will welcome everybody and we'll talk to as much people as we can talk to come on board.
I see Sister smiling here, which is an indicator itself. Yes, we are open now for a conversation here. So let me ask this question here, Sissy. The elephant in the room is the president, CDC, Dr. George WEAH. If and only if the opposition to offset the incumbent, what should be their focus at this time? The opposition to is a divided house. We saw what happened with the full collaborations. It's still not holding. Is it time now to reconsider their political egos and come around the conference and kind of solidify their political base and go as a one front, which I know is difficult? But it's a time for the opposition to take a second thought. Indeed, if they strongly feels that this government does not deserve second term, and if they do not deserve second term, what are you doing to stop that? Is it time for them to have that conversation?
So Councillor Tewan Gonglo is fairly noted for saying that if we can find anybody that will, with the same passion, carry out the same ideas that he's espoused, he would not run for the presidency. This is to say that the councillor agrees that the coming election in 2023 will determine the life or death of our republic. It is an existential vote that people are going to cast. And so no one person deserves to stand in the way of the existence and the livelihood and the independence of our people. Not he, Councillor Gonglo, and I don't think any other political leader should stand in the way. I'm saying that to say that I have followed the most notable political leaders of the political parties, and they all agree on one thing, if not more, but one thing, that George WEAH's presidency has been an arbitrage on our system, and that we should not allow for a repeat. And so if they all believe in that, I think that is a point that they can all come around the table to talk about. But it is very difficult. Look, you have political parties with different ideologies. Bringing all of those people together and try to merge them to form a cohesive group, it's going to be hard because there are places where sometimes things don't match up. There are sometimes where there will be naturally things will be counter one another. And so I think the big boys and the big girls, as the political leaders that sit around the table, need to understand that when you go around the table, you do not expect to win 100% of what you went there with. So there has to be things that you can say, these are my non-negotiables, and these are things I'm willing to part with. And I think that's what people should do. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say what we say usually to our new teachers when we get them. You always have to ask the question, how does that affect Liberia? I always ask the question, how does that affect my students? That is how I always ask questions when I prepare a lesson. That is how I always ask questions when I test my students. That is how I ask questions when I determine, should I suspend a kid or not suspend a kid? How does that affect or how does that benefit my student? So if we ask that question, how does that affect or how does that benefit Liberia? I think we put Liberia as the focal point. It'll be easy for all of these political parties to come around, because we all agree on one thing, that we cannot have a second-term presidency of George WEAH with the things that are going on. And so to that end, I think people need to come together. But, like I keep saying over and over, most people are going to want to test their strength. By December, you'll see people will fall in place because you'll find out that, I know I got my points, but I might not have the votes. I need this person. Maybe I have the money, I don't have the votes. Maybe I have the votes, I don't have the money. We will all determine by December how things fall into play. But to answer your question, I think every opposition political party should be asking themselves, my decision I make, how does that benefit Liberia? If it doesn't benefit Liberia, then you need to abandon it regardless of your ego.
With both of you as senior contributors here and taking the political side, which is good. So we're making the proportions, and we still get our line still open for CDC to also sign in person here. We have Professor Asese Labozawo, who is now the superintendent of the Moravia Consolidated School System. When I was in Moravia, I met Chairman Malu. Hey, the guy we have, he's superintendent, but he can still be there. Come on. Where he can still be. He needs to get a lot. I know how the MCSS school system works, so he needs to focus to do a job. Let us know and send any person or any person who strongly believes they are sedition, not necessarily for the party to send you. You want to be part of the talking point here. The only thing we're not paying the men here. We're not giving anybody 5 cents. We don't have money to pay CC. We don't have money to pay do like a year, but they are another unique way of giving back to community, society, the country, tapping into their expertise, the time, the energy. He's still in here. He's still in the school there after a whole day talking to the but he's still there. So that's a unique way of giving back to the society. So if you're sedition and you strongly believe you have an arguable point that yes, your president deserves second chance, let us know. We will bring you on here. Just put up just have a taste skin so that you can do. Okay. But
let them blew one barrel for us each. I know Dolake will look good in the barrel. You want the blue one or the red one?
But why you want to put barrel on Dolake? Why you want to put barrel on your hair? Are you telling me for ANC to face barrel too now or what? So
no, be afraid of you.
So let me see this other group here today. This is why I can't understand. Okay, let's do this last fun here before we go.
We mean what we say, and that is why we call you here to make you to know what we have to say. Having said that, Honorable Secretary General, Ambassador I attend Peridon of a man to discharge of duties as we have posted in you. Manda! Viva! 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 Distinguished police and members of the press.
Oh my goodness. You don't even know who is who. You say young people. You know that young man? Everybody chanting their political chant here. Okay, but before we go here, our president is here at the United Nations. The Unity, by the way, the Unity Party, I know Youth League or Youth Brigade too, or whatever. Everybody get their brigade. Everybody doing the same thing. So we don't know who is who. What is it different? You guys, you get Tiawan get his brigade too, or what?
We stay away from the militarization of politics in Liberia. We're not forming no brigade.
Okay. Yeah.
And our youth chair will actually be youth. You're not be no 50-year-old man calling himself youth chairman.
Oh man, that guy, you are trying to dilute this whole thing here at the end here. So yeah,
you're not going to sleep to a girlfriend and last day you're missing.
Oh boy.
My man know what I'm talking about.
Okay, do you know?
I'm trying to think it over.
No statement. No statement. Okay, gentlemen. Our big daddy is in the States, the president of the Republic of Liberia. He is going to be mounted on the largest podium on planet Earth, United Nations. You as Cesar, you first here, you as an educator, but these conferences or these meetings have a specific agenda, right? They will tell you things that you're supposed to be talking. But I'm looking at outside of the conference, the engagement, if there will be anything. But what will you be looking out for that could possibly change the narrative? whether in or outside of the conference? What will you be looking out for? And if anything of such did not happen, what does that suggest to you?
So I will expect the president to speak on the decolonization, the need to decolonize healthcare and access to health. We saw with the COVID and the availability of vaccines, we saw that the richer countries had access and they refused to remove the patent that would have allowed countries like India to produce more that would have been given to Africa. Even with the production of more vaccines, you see that fewer and fewer of those vaccines end up in sub-Saharan Africa. So I would expect the president to talk about how a global community can come together to ensure that sub-Saharan Africa does not continue to suffer the lack and shortages of drugs or access to quality healthcare, and then be challenging the WHO to do more in Liberia and in sub-Saharan Africa. I'll also be looking at the issue of access to quality education as a way of raising people out of poverty. How can UNESCO and UNICEF all come together to work and try to ensure that we are empowering science education for women and girls in sub-Saharan Africa, where naturally and historically we have always held back women. I mean, we did that back in the day. So now, in order to raise our girls out of poverty and to give our girls independence, because we keep talking about equity and women's empowerment and women's rights, you cannot have women's empowerment and women's rights when you don't have women education and access to wealth. And so I would expect the president to lay the case out for UNESCO and UNICEF helping the educational system, and to lay out the issue of WHO when it comes to the decolonization or the whiteness of how we fight diseases and viruses. Last but not least, I would expect the president to talk to the FAO part of the United Nations, talking about food and agriculture in Liberia with vast access to land and fertile soil. How can they help us transition from hand to mouth eating and farming, subsistence farming, to market-based farming, to where we can feed our own and feed our sub-region, so that Africa is no longer West Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa is no longer dependent on hands out and on PR40 rice, but that we are producing our own staple and more food that we can give to the rest of the continent, because we know that food security leads to national security. So those are the things I'll be listening for, to see how the president talks about the interdependence of global nations. When there's a virus breakup in Liberia, it will affect the rest of the world. We saw that with Ebola. And so when we are not having our fair share of access to research drugs and research therapy, then the world is doing us a disfavor as a founding member of the United Nations. So those are the things I'll be listening for.
The best of political commentator, senior contributor, also a scholar, is Sister Dwyer. We want to just say that there are a lot of information we are getting outside of that, but we always like to verify our information. We don't just break it here. When we break it, we must have our sources. So, Dolake, the same question goes to you. What will you be looking out for tomorrow, watching to see?
And so very quickly, I will be anticipating that our president will highlight among too many different things the continuance of our democratic gain, especially in the sub-region. We have learned of Mali's scenario. We have learned of Guinea's situation. We saw the protests in Sierra Leone. These are all undemocratic tenets that threaten the sub-region as a whole. And I'll be looking at the president, throwing some lights on it, specifically that many of these countries, including Nigeria, will be going to election this year, next year. It is indeed of concern, and how those elections should be transparent and credible to keep the stability and the peace in the sub-region that have seen some of the horrific warfare in civil unrest in those sub-regional countries. I will also be looking up to the president to tie in that democratic continuance through corruption, and how he can speak to the issue of corruption, that has set our country back, the sub-region, Africa as a whole, as a continent backward, and have not been able to give us access to many of the things that CC listed, be it education, be it healthcare, be it infrastructure, be it technology. You just saw Markdown had to be going in and coming in because of technology, the deficiency of our technology in our country. And so I will look up to the president to be making such case as a global thing that affects specific location of the world, which is the sub-Saharan, specifically West Africa in particular. And those are things that I'll be looking up to. I will hope that when the president returns home, he will also be able to address the issue of the shortage of the rice. He should not hold Mr. Cummings responsible. The importers were given money to subsidize rice, and those subsidies as to what I have been given 3 to 4 weeks ago, I announced it on the station, on the network, that McGill needs smells in that 14 plus million that was meant for subsidy for the importation of rice. I would have thought that this government, on a matter of change by now, would have taken some of those amounts for subsidy for rice, contact some of those countries, like Indonesia, different countries, and bring the equipment, deposit in some of the high forest land that closer to Quota Road in Liberia, and start to either produce 10% or 15% rice in Liberia.
All right.
And lastly, look, it frustrates me. I just saw a Gary Bear, Gary, Farinho.
Butores, Sando Mercy.
Farinho. I saw it, they said in Oakland for $6. In Liberia, I think a bucket of Gary should be around the neighborhood of 400 to 500.
Gentlemen,
imagining we bringing Gary in this country.
Time has caught up with us this evening. The best of political analysts, commentators, and a contributor here to the Liberia Public Radio. Sister, I want to thank you so much. Jonathan, I want to thank you for your expertise, time always taken here. By God's willing, same time, same station, we're going to be here in the coming days with more development story. Thank you so much and have a pleasant evening. Okay, well, folks, that does it. In the meantime, also just bear in mind, this book is still available on Amazon, Liberty Hijack, the histories of how the laws of liberty divides Liberia. Is the bestseller. The author there is Kai Gerowle. The book is well loaded. All the information that you need, you have it there. I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners across the globe, inside the USA, Liberia, everywhere you are. By the way, you can follow us, like our Facebook page, leave your comments. We'll always go back. We'll learn from you a lot, except that we don't play into the narrative perhaps you want us to play, to talk on things that you want us to talk about. We talk on critical issues, but give a fair and balanced subjective conversation. So leave your comments. We will go back there and we'll read those comments. If need be, you'll need some answers, clarifications. If there's something within our purview, we will certainly do that. We want to welcome you here. I want to thank you so much for your time, for your evening. To really appreciate, and I appreciate you interacting, engaging with us, asking your questions as well, asking to our judgment, asking our ability, how we arrive at these questions, questions the authenticity we bring here. That's what we want to do, because that's what it's all about. When we have these sort of civil conversations around the table, having this online engagement, it makes it much better, easier to find solutions to our many problems. And that's what we intend to do, and that's what we will be doing from time to time. I am Alphonso Zean Soe of the Liberia Public Radio, but watch up. This is coming soon on LPR in the coming days and week. The Liberian War Today will be a new magazine. It's going to be in Liberia on Sky FM. We're going to be bringing scholars, politicians, economic, people with expertise, authors, philanthropists, scientists, and people of different background. We're going to be bringing them here as well. Well, I'm going to be leaving you with this quote tonight as a take home from one of the best. I was a civil rights activist here in the country. And I love this here. This is your take home quote here today. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Mayat Angelos. Do the best you can do until you know better. It's kind of confusing, eh? Then when you know better, do better. And this is coming from legendary Angelos is a civil rights activist, an actress, support, and very good icon involved in multitude, a dancer, and everything involved. That's going to be our final message this evening. Until then, we want to wish you to, we wish the best to the President of the Republic of Liberia, Dr. George Weah, as he made his case to the war battle here. And I'm interested in playing key to see exactly what's going to be coming out. We're having a consequential elections. We need support, international community support, logistic, everything possible that you can. Until then, have a pleasant evening. Subscribe to our Facebook page. Like all, we are on YouTube. Follow us. Please leave your comments, make suggestions as to how we can enhance the broadcasting here. We appreciate you, your engagement, your interaction with your peers, people that you differ with in our political view. That's how it's supposed to do. When we do this, all we are doing is to make Mama Liberia much better. That's how engagement or rule works in civilized society. You don't have to cost me, I don't have to cost you. You disagree with me, you get your point going through, made a convincing point. And let me see how it works. Have a pleasant evening, and I will be back here in the coming days for more programming.
Let it go. Your best friend take your horse, man. Let it go. If your wife says you're not compatible, let it go. Your husband say you're not my type, just let it go. If someone feel for you before, yeah, they kill your mother and they kill your father. They kill your wife and make your children homeless. Oh yeah, they kill your husband and your children fatherless. Let it go, let it go. Mama, let it go, yeah. Papa, let it go. It is painful, let it go. You borrow someone your money. Oh, mama, they don't want to pay. You have become a boo-boo man. Your best friend is now your secret enemies. Your money-in-law don't even want to see you. And you're just silent. They call you good for nothing. I say in your family, they call you useless. But one day, Jesus